Hello again, everyone. This time I'll be restoring and customizing a Matchbox No. 42 Studebaker Lark Wagonaire. This one is in pretty beat up shape and is missing most of its paint. However, the car is complete and the only thing broken is the towing hitch. These towing hitches are missing on a lot of Matchbox cars as they're easy to rip off in play. I'll begin as I normally do by taking the car apart and checking all the internal parts. The base and wheels are all in excellent shape. The interior plastic is fine, as it is in most cases. The windshield is not cracked or broken anywhere. This car has an opening feature, so to speak. The back part of the roof retracts just like the real car. This small part is held in by the windshield plastic. That plastic is pretty weak, so many of these cars have broken windshields due to kids being too rough with the roof. However, this particular windshield is still in pretty good shape. There's not a lot of paint really left on this car, but I'll go ahead and spray it down with paint stripper to remove what remains. You can see with the paint removed that there is quite a bit of oxidation on the car. I'll remove what I can with some triple-aught steel wool. I'm not doing a red line restoration here, so complete removal of the oxidation will not be necessary. Next I'll go around the car with an emery board or sandpaper and clean up any flashing issues. This is normally not a big deal on Matchbox cars as they're cast so well. Once the sanding is done, I can apply some paint primer. The paint primer gives me the chance to go over the car and see any remaining issues that need to be addressed. Most issues that you can see with the primer on will also show up in the final paint job. Thus, the paint primer is a very important step. I feel everything is in order for this car body, so I'll now move on to painting. I'm going to start by airbrushing on white acrylic over the primer. I'm going to do about 3 very thin coats and focus on the roof. For what I'm planning on doing with this car, it's not imperative that the rest of the car have a perfect coat of white. White is my least favorite color to paint with. It shows all mistakes. So be sure that your airbrush and your surroundings are as clean as you can get them, as a speck of dust usually stands out like a sore thumb on a white background. Here you can see the white acrylic after I let it dry. I want to protect this paint from what I'll be doing later, so I'll give the body a quick spray with Tester's Matte Clear Coat. The clear coat will act as a shell and add durability to the paint layer. When the clear coat cures, I will mask off the white roof with masking tape. Next I'll mix up some yellow paint for the bottom half of the body. Most cars from this period had muted colors, and were not as bright as colors we have today. To replicate this in my paint, I'll add some white to the yellow paint until I get the color I feel happy with. Whenever I'm doing a multicolor paint job on a car like this, I like to use colors that are not too far apart from one another. In this case, white and light yellow. The reason is that colors that do not have a major contrast don't stand out at the termination of one color to the other, or in other words, it's harder to see where the white ends and the yellow begins. Thus, if my masking job is not absolutely perfect, it's unlikely you might notice compared to if the roof was white and the body was black. Right after I'm done spraying the car and before the paint dries, I'll remove the masking tape. The clear coat I added earlier acts as insurance against any white paint coming up with the tape. You don't want the paint to fully dry before you remove the masking tape. If it dries, the chance of getting lift and tear issues at the edge of the masking tape goes up and you won't get a straight line. So here's where I'm going to deviate from most of my past videos. At this point I would spray on a gloss clear coat by Testors. While I love Testors matte clear coat, I despise the gloss clear coat as it's very unforgiving and is prone to a whole host of issues including running, clouding, and reacting to the paints beneath it. So I decided to call John at redlineshop.com and have him sell me some of the urethane paint he uses in his Spectraflame paint line. The only difference is this paint is clear. I've always noticed that the Spectraflame paints he sells are very durable and extremely easy and forgiving to apply. They don't cloud up if you keep adding more, and they're really easy to polish. There are other paint companies selling urethane clear coats. Zero Paint sells a kit, but I'm very familiar with this particular paint, so that's the one I decided to go with. I'll put a link to the paint in the video and down below if you want to give it a try. Applying it is simple. Mix 6 parts clear coat to 1 part hardener and spray it on in light coats using an airbrush. The only downside is that you need a way to remove the paint fumes, as they're not something you want to breathe. Since this paint is so forgiving, you can usually get a near perfect glossy clear coat. Here's what mine looked like after it was cured. Even though this looks really good, I can still improve on it a little bit by polishing the clear coat with a polishing wheel and some polishing compound. With the body at a stopping point, I'll turn to the windshield. Here I'll remove the scratches by using a polishing wheel and some polishing compound. Do take care not to leave the polishing wheel in one area too long, as the heat could cause issues with the plastic. For the retractable roof part, I decided to polish it. Originally I was going to paint it white to match the roof. I decided against this as I was worried that moving the roof in and out over time could damage the paint. By polishing it, it is less likely to get scratched. It would probably look better white, but I chose durability over aesthetics this time. The base for this car is heavily oxidized. To remove the oxidation, I will use my electropolishing setup, as it removes the oxidation in a few seconds. After the electropolishing, I will come back with a polishing wheel and some metal polish to get the front and rear bumpers looking nice and shiny. I'll also use the polishing wheel on each wheel and hub. This gets the wheels looking like new. After the polishing is done, I'll go over the base with a toothbrush and some mineral spirits to remove any polishing residue, and then rinse with soap and water. The model has trim running down the side just like the real car. I decided to give something a try and mask this trim off. I then used a chrome paint pen to paint chrome onto the trim. Try saying that real fast 5 times. After I applied the chrome, I removed the masking tape. A mini swab dipped in acrylic paint thinner could be used to remove any chrome paint while the paint was still wet. While I had the chrome pin out, I went ahead and added in some small details and then painted the taillights red. I then set the body aside to let it fully dry. The last step, of course, was to put the car back together. I didn't show it here, but I cut off the broken tail hitch on this car. A lot of people commented on the last Matchbox car I left the hitch on, wanting it removed, so I decided not to make that same mistake on this car. Alright, so after all that work and effort, here is the final product. I have to say that this is one of my most favorite restorations to do. The urethane clear takes all the stress out of the clear coat process. In the past, I would dread using Testor's clear coat. I could spend all that time working on the paint only to have it ruined in a few sprays. I am aware that there are other products out there besides Testor's, and you'll probably see me using Testor's again for other not so critical items. This urethane clear is really nice, and if you get a chance to try it, I highly recommend it. Well, let me know what you think below. If you've ever owned or drove around in one of these cars, I would also like to know how the retractable, or I guess removable portion of the roof worked. I don't ever recall seeing one in action. Anyway, as always, thanks for watching.